I'd like to start with sitting in silence until quarter until the hour. And so that'll be about 13 minutes from now. I want to say thank you all for coming and joining me today. I'm sitting in for Flint, and we'll have several other interested teachers uh, doing what Flint suggested some weeks ago, that this is no longer the Flint show, that this is something that is a community uh, celebration of a chance for people to come together. And so let's start by sitting together. And I invite you to follow the beautiful suggestion that Flint made a couple weeks ago in one of his talks. He says, um, at that time, he didn't have a bell, but he said, just see if you can find a place of awareness and relaxation, and let your breath lead you there on its own. Well, thanks again for being here today. Thanks again to Jessica for being our online monitor. She sent me a message in chat to remind me about how to make it possible to hear the bell. I don't know if it was heard at all at the beginning, but I hope it came through this time. Seemed to be. That's good. So I'm going to adapt something that I did actually just 2 days ago. I gave a Dharma talk at Appamada on Sunday and drew on uh, very important readings from Dogen for me, things that I've been puzzling over and inspired by for many years. And I want to put them together with a couple of other things. One being Flint's talk last week with its question, with all that's being lost, do you dare to feel joy? And something else, a talk that I heard last week, watching it on YouTube, it was a talk by Nate Smalley that he gave in 2022, in which he talked about relationships and how we confuse ongoing processes with things, partially as a result of the way our language works. And he described contentment. And I'll come back to this later, but contentment being an important element of open meditation, what is called silent illumination. And he quotes from, in his talk, he quoted from Guo Gu, the Chan teacher who lives in Florida and has written a couple of really great books. And the book he was quoting from was the one Silent Illumination. So let me ask Jessica if you would share a screen with the text that I want to focus on right now. This is from our chant book. It's page 34, and it's the beginning of Genjo Koan. So 2 sections of the beginning of Genjo Koan. The famous one that gets discussed the most, I think, is the second to last paragraph you see on the page there. To study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by myriad things. When actualized by myriad things, your body and mind, as well as the bodies and minds of others, drop away. No trace of realization remains, and this no trace continues endlessly. So being actualized by myriad things, and what happens when you are actualized by myriad things, that's actually described in the top paragraph on that page, which begins with this statement: to carry yourself forward and experience myriad things is delusion. That myriad things come forward and experience themselves is awakening. Those who have great realization of delusion are Buddhas. Those who are greatly deluded about realization are sentient beings. Further, there are those who continue realizing beyond realization who are in delusion throughout delusion. When Buddhas are truly Buddhas, they do not necessarily notice that they are Buddhas. However, they are actualized Buddhas who go on actualizing Buddhas. So my focus is on the first couple of sentences there. To carry yourself forward and experience myriad things is delusion. That myriad things come forth and experience themselves is awakening. On Sunday, I asked some questions and then asked folks to go into small groups, breakout rooms, and small groups, and discuss my questions, which were: what are myriad things? What is your understanding of what Dogen is describing here? And why is Dogen so clear to himself that to carry yourself forward and experience myriad things is delusion? And so I asked those questions and I asked people to discuss it. And we had a nice discussion afterwards and great feedback from me. So maybe these could be part of um, or they could be prompts for our discussion here today afterwards, after I finish with my things that I want to share. So I have some thoughts about uh, about practice, about being awake so that uh, myriad things can come forth and experience themselves as awakening. But my question has always been, how do I get started on that? I've had the experience in meditation of having the quality of looking at things outside of me and wanting them to tell me something, to be different, to be, just having a lot of wants behind the actual physical and mental aspects of seeing. And I've had that experience of having those fall away and of having those wants fall away and realizing, oh, yeah, these things are just here in and of themselves. The last time it happened, I was in Appamada and looking at the altar and just realized that all the objects themselves um, were themselves passing through time in their relationship with where they came from and where they're going. All these other things that Dogen explicates in amazing poetic form in the Genjo Koan. What I got from Nate's talk was the notion of gratitude and contentment, and specifically contentment. And he quoted uh, Guo Gu as saying that to let myriad things come forward, you need contentment. You need to let go of wanting and grasping and so on. So here's an extended quote from the book Silent Illumination about contentment by Guo Gu. The first attitude we have to cultivate is the feeling of contentment. Contentment counters and overrides our constant tendency to grasp and chase after things. Contentment has the flavor of being at ease, grasping nothing, lacking nothing. It is being open and leisurely. In this state, we don't make anything into a big deal, while at the same time, we engage with the freshness of each moment. Cultivating an attitude of contentment is engaging with and yet not grasping at causes and conditions. We are swayed by causes and conditions when we feel a sense of lack and when grasping is present. We inevitably get sucked into the vortex of grasping and rejecting, having and lacking. These polarities bring up all sorts of other issues, such as trying to escape from who we are, or alternately trying desperately to be someone we're not. There is no formulaic way to cultivate contentment or non-grasping. We need to personally explore the flavor of contentment and digest this feeling little by little, becoming familiar with it in our lives. We can't just force this attitude on ourselves and expect to be able to plow through all our problems. Contentment is not a mere concept. To help contentment arise, he then gives a few hints. He says, to do this, we have to be in tune with the body and anchor ourselves in it. Contentment resides in the heart, and it has an associated bodily component. The easiest way to become familiar with contentment is to physically relax the body. We relax from the crown of the head to the toes, section by section. We relax the skin, pores, muscles, and tendons. This means actually feeling different areas of our body. And I will add something that made a big impression on me several years ago, a book by Rick Hansen called Resilient, in which he pointed out the importance of making physical gestures to anchor feelings of contentment, feelings of compassion, and so on. And that putting your hand over your heart and similar gestures that can help connect the body and the mind together that way, and overcome the natural tendency of our brains to let good experiences just slide away. So, one more question that may be a prompt later on as we talk about gratitude and talk about letting myriad things come forward to actualize themselves. This is my question, and one that I think Dogen himself grappled with for a while is, don't we need to put ourselves forward? Don't we need to take action? Don't we need to acknowledge that without a sense of lack, we would never have started our practice? And that without a sense of wanting to perhaps do something to improve our practice, that we would become lackadaisical about it. Those are things that occur to me, and that I've heard others describe very beautifully. And I wonder if they occur to you as well. So finally, I want to close with my remarks with a poem. And Jessica, could you bring this up? And I will ask, Jessica, would you be willing to read this? Because if you know me, on the call, you know that when I read things that are true online with a group of people, I tear up. I get emotional. So I don't want to do that right now. So, Jessica, would you read this out loud?
I will, Joel, but I will probably tear up as well.
Oh, okay. And I'm sorry, before she starts, Flint read a beautiful poem that was suggested by Clayton last week called Thanks by Ross Gay. And then later on, he said, well, I'm not going to read the Merwin poem. And I was like, I was so relieved because I was planning to use the Merwin poem today. So here it is.
Thanks by W.S. Merwin. Listen, with the night falling, we are saying thank you. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. We are running out of the glass rooms with our mouths full of food to look at the sky and say thank you. We are standing by the water, thanking it, standing by the windows looking out in our directions, back from a series of hospitals, back from a mugging, after funerals, we are saying thank you. After the news of the dead, whether or not we knew them, we are saying thank you. Over telephones, we are saying thank you. In doorways and in the backs of cars and in the elevators, remembering wars and the police at the door and the beatings on stairs, we are saying thank you. In the banks, we are saying thank you. In the faces of the officials and the rich and of all who will never change, we go on saying thank you. Thank you. With the animals dying around us, our lost feelings, we are saying thank you. With the forests falling faster than the minutes of our lives, we are saying thank you. With the words going out like cells of a brain, with the cities growing over us, we are saying thank you faster and faster. With nobody listening, we are saying thank you. We are saying thank you and waving, dark though it is.
Thank you, Jessica, for that beautiful reading of that incredible poem. So I didn't say it before, but to me, thanks, gratitude are closely synonymous with contentment. or at least point in the same direction, as ways in which we can let the myriad things come forward for us. So I now ask if anyone would like to come forward with questions. Maybe those prompts could help or not. I would love the chance to be able to respond, to hear your reflections on what we were just reading.
So, poetry. So for me, I first, that all left brain rational mind that sometimes leaps to, in this case, like, what the hell? And I think that's what a lot of people, that's what I would have thought at one time. The meaning of poetry, of Merwin's poem, we can't even begin to, I can't even really begin to grasp it from my cognitive mind. Not really, because part of me wants to ask, in any situation, in the current situation, what do I have to be thankful for? So I had to be a little more expansive and also play with it and ask myself, instead of saying thank you to every one of these events, no matter how difficult, what if I cursed at and swore at them? And I'm kind of smiling as I say that, because certainly I have been doing some of that lately, with world events. I'm not saying thank you. So as I kind of quickly went deeper into it, I reflected on how that makes me feel. How does substituting another word for thank you make me feel? And it could be go away. It could be I don't want this. It could be I'm really angry at this. I don't want it. And then I'm noticing in my body how my body feels when I think like that. And so then I this all happened pretty quickly. So when I made the shift back to Merwin's thank you, it's like, oh, I can feel it now. Just saying those words, it's something in my body is relaxing, which seems kind of miraculous to me, right? That just thinking, oh, thank you for the myriad things coming forth, instead of saying, I'm really angry about this.
I quoted Flint at the beginning, Lisa, where he said, with all that's being lost, do we dare feel joy? And I'm connecting that with that thank you. This as I said before, radical, enigmatic, kind of bottomless thank you. That somehow he's not thanking the he's not thanking the cities for covering us. He's not thanking the forest, the people who are destroying the forests, etc. But he is saying thank you to something. And
Okay.
that something to me has something to do with all the other potentialities that exist beyond what frightens us and infuriates us and draws us to grasping. And I I'm drawn to the explanation from internal family systems too, that of course we have parts of ourselves that can say thank you, and parts of ourselves that are angry, and parts of ourselves that are indifferent, and uh, all of them operating at the same time. And that's another thing to say thank you for, that we have the capacity to recognize this multiverse inside of ourselves, inside the multiverse that we are expressions of, you know, something like that.
Something interesting is yeah, as you open that up, is I didn't really know what I was saying thank you for. And it turns out it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. We say thank you. So the myriad things are coming up because in a way we don't even know beyond words. We're opening our heart, or I feel that way with words, like you said, we're opening our heart to possibilities. So it's really, yeah, it's really a lovely reflection.
Well, and that's beautifully said, the way you said it. We don't know, and in a way we can't ever know, except that even though nobody's listening, it is a change to ourselves.
Yeah. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Lisa. I want to say that I'm kind of cold. It's a beautiful, clear but slightly cold day here in Albuquerque. It's in the 50s outside, and my office is quite cold because I had my heater going on Sunday, and cut and a breaker flipped and cut me off from Apamata for about 10 minutes until I figured out what was going on, and managed to reset the breaker. And I'm not turning the heater on now. So if you see me kind of shivering, I apologize. I want to stay connected here. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, y'all. Thank you for the thank you poetry and the talk. So what came to me when I was listening, Lisa, and you were talking about, I just want to bring my experience with the feelings of what everything is happening, everywhere. We know that. And for me, I was noticing, like Lisa said, the frustration, the impotence, the anger. And the other day came to me very clear. I said, wow, that's what is the practice about. It's not about denying what is happening. It's just see what is happening, what's happening in that moment for me. But at the same time, is the compassion, the bodhicitta, is using the practice that we have. For me, it was like the loving kindness, and when I was listening the news and all that, in that moment came the bodhicitta, the compassion, and started doing the metta towards towards the people or the circumstance or whatever is happening. And it really, if it was not denying with the emotions, not changing, it was just they were there, but at the same time, I can hold both of them, can hold the suffering, and I can hold the compassion or the love, whatever is that was in that moment for me. And in this moment when I was sitting with my husband, we were sitting eating, I say, how can we be in touch with how can I say, I forgot that it's it's the grace of the the beauty of everything that we have in our life, just even though the simple things. And it's very, it's the same like you were saying with Lisa, no? It's the thank you is not just thank you like that. It's just more expansive. It's this opening to everything that sometimes we miss and we get caught in everyday life or whatever is life. For life was tickets. I don't know. It really makes sense what I say the last thing. So I really appreciate that, and it's very nice to be here with everybody. Yeah. So thank you to
Thank
you
you,
and to
Sandra.
everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, it's expansive, and it is something about dropping our conditioning, dropping our natural tendency to grasp, and being willing to deal with the feeling tones that we experience over and over and over again, that the Buddha pointed out as such an important part of how we meet the world. That we meet the world with a feeling tone of pleasure or dislike or acceptance or indifference. And that arises well before we have any rational thoughts in response to every stimulus that we get. And somehow that this notion of giving thanks and of having contentment, to me, is connected with this kind of patience of meeting our feeling tones and not being swept away by them, but just saying, yeah, that I'm having an immediate reaction. This person I'm talking to is saying things that I do not want to hear, and yet I can focus on who that person is and hear them, meeting them for what they are, instead of just my projections. So I love it that Peg has quoted Brad Warner as saying that the vow to save all beings as part of the Bodhisattva vows can at least begin by saying, well, at least I can save all beings from my projections onto them, from my conditioning about them. And that's at least some kind of start. So, thank you so much for that, Sandra.
Thank you.
I want to read another quick quote. This is from Shohaku Okamura's book about the Genjo Koan. It's called Realizing Genjo Koan. And I've read it twice already. And every time I read it, it's brand new to me. And I have the pleasure of working on it with members of Council 2. And we'll be reading it on Thursday morning. Okamura says, this is what Dogen Zenji is saying in the sentence, conveying oneself toward all things to carry out practice enlightenment is delusion. And I left off the previous sentence where he says, if you carry yourself forward to meet things and to be, with the goal of becoming enlightenment, you're pretty much guaranteed to be operating out of your conditioning, out of your wants and desires, and not out of Buddha nature. So he continues, this means we take our distorted ideas and desires and move toward the worlds trying to find truth or reality. We try to see and capture reality with our minds, abilities, willpower, and effort. We try to become enlightened in order to put everything under the control of the self so that our life is stable and peaceful. This attitude, according to Dogen, is delusion. All things coming and carrying out practice enlightenment through the self is realization. The subject of practice is not the personal self, but all beings. To practice is to awaken to the self that is connected to all beings, or the 10,000 dharmas, or myriad beings. Dogen says that these myriad dharmas are themselves Buddha Dharma, and the reality of all dharmas is the Dharma body of Buddha, the Dharmakaya, or Buddha itself. Since we are all part of all dharmas, the foundation of our practice must be awakening to the reality that we are indeed part of all dharmas or part of Buddha. In other words, it is not I who practice, but rather Buddha carries out Buddha's practice through me. In our Zazen practice and in our daily activity of Bodhisattva practice, it is not a matter of individual actions based on individual willpower and effort. It is rather the myriad dharmas, or all beings, that carry out practice through our individual bodies and minds. There's a lot there. So somehow contentment means, to me, as I'm trying to parse things out with my rational mind, contentment means being open to the Buddha nature within me that I share with all beings and with all things, with all relationships, with all thoughts, with all emotions, all of them, even though the ones that are unwelcome, even the ones that I think I should not be having or other people should not be having. All of it is realizing itself right now. And I can participate in that. And I can even try to get out of my own way in participating in that. I see Lisa Judge is asking how to raise her hand. So that means she would like to speak. And then Francis after Lisa.
I've never spoken up at this inquiry, so this is a little harrowing for me. The Merwin poem takes me to a place of organicity, the sort of organic wholeness of the universe and our place in that. And it feels like when I was sitting earlier today, it's a feeling of falling back into rather than moving towards, falling into sort of the organicity. And the myriad things they are everything. and we are part of everything. And it feels like there's a source somehow operating. So I think this helped me realize part of why I'm so outraged right now by what's happening in the government, because it feels like it's pushing against any sense of organic wholeness in the world, in our country. It's operating counter to how the world works, which is an organic whole of which we're a part. So I appreciated that poem and its reminder that it's a unified field rather than our trying to assert our dominance over something, including ourselves. Because I think if we're organically connected with ourselves, we're falling into a place of wholeness, perhaps. But anyway, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. So I know that you are among the people, millions of people in the country who are taking steps to do whatever they can to reach out to elected officials, to make your views known, and to ask them to essentially change what they're doing to align more closely with the principles of the Constitution of our country and so on. I'm wondering for you where that arises from. Is it I mean, you first of all, let me say thank you. I felt that connection between the thanks poem and Dogen's writing, but I couldn't express it as well as you just did. So thank you for that. This way in which the organic whole of which we are part calls us to give thanks, calls us to action, to connect to the whole, and to notice when we can make a difference when that connection is broken. So thank you for that. But my question is, okay, when you are thinking, I'm going to call up my senator or their office and give them a message about what's going on in our country. Tell me where that arises from within you.
It arises from a feeling of outrage, disappointment, sadness. I think, yeah, watching ignorance is hard for me, and that's going to sound very judgmental and unkind. But I think one thing that I've appreciated about a Buddhist practice is an emphasis on discerning the reality. Maybe that's a better word than the truth. Discerning the reality of what's happening, and to watch what I see as delusion, what feels like ignorance. I don't know. It's annoying to me, and especially when it causes people to die and hurts people. But yeah, I mean, we're all in this together, and when I see a system operating in a way that doesn't acknowledge that, it needs to be addressed. In my opinion, I can't help but want to point that out.
Yeah.
Whether it has any effect at all.
Yeah. Well, I'll say the words that you used for the source of your action sounded like they go against contentment, they go against giving thanks, etc. But what I'm struck by is that you are finding a middle way between your knowledge of the balance that should be held and the reactive parts in yourself, and finding a middle way to reach out and to act instead of just being passively observing. So that's a critical thing, I think, that that Dogen is teaching, that Gogu is going to get to later in the book, that I, in parts that I didn't quote from. But he says this is not counsel to passivity. It is counsel to instead to compassionate action. So I just thank you for laying it out that way. And I just wanted to kind of say what I see behind your action and how much I appreciate it. Thank you. Francis, are you still interested? Good.
Yeah, I can't finish up anything any better than what Lisa said. That was very nice. No, I was basically thinking the same thing, that feeling of contentment. I think of it within myself and others as a place of higher energy, that place I can go that's higher within me, which can bring me to a feeling of contentment. I have a practice that I do for myself personally where I just say, I need help. when I get in any kind of a situation, sometimes a physical situation, maybe it's traffic, maybe it's something I feel like I feel a little threatened with, and I just say, I need help. And really what that is a prayer. And it's a prayer of thankfulness that I believe help is available. Now, that may just be me being able to become more aware of a higher energy that's not always available. It's always available to me. I'm not always ready for it. But I feel the same now with like the Merwin poem, with all of those things. Let's just say we need help and be open to receive a higher energy that can maybe show us what to do, what direction to take, how we can help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's within us.
I want to remark on something that had the odd effect of reinforcing what you were saying there, that what is always available to us, what we may not always be ready to connect with, that's a like a sine wave or like a roller coaster that I experience a lot, but I want to say it seems like you're sitting facing a window and maybe some cars are passing by and light is reflecting off their windows or windshields or something, and flashes of light are passing over you as you sit and talk. And it just struck me as like that was objectively
an awareness
demonstrating the possibility, of what you're talking about. So it just happened.
Well, I mean, when it is always there. That energy, that higher energy, whatever we don't have a name for exactly. But when I get busy trying to solve everything and be judgmental about it or figure out what to do, then I've moved away from that, and I've lost that. I've lost that help.
Mm-hmm. And you give thanks that you can remember that it's there.
Eventually.
Usually when you can turn toward it. That's
eventually, great. Yeah.
Good. Well, we are at time. So let's say the 3 practice principles together. And I'm changing the sound on my computer, so hopefully this bell will sound as we start. So we'll say it 3 times and I'll ring the bell sequence for that. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher. Being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher. Being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher. Being just this moment, compassion's way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joel, for your talk on contentment and Dogen's Genjo Koan and the beautiful poem on gratitude. And thank you all for being here. Appamada's programs and facilities are supported through your generosity, and your support does make a huge difference. There's a link for contributions on the website, and I can place that in the chat. And if you would like to stay and chat with others, you're welcome to join us on the porch now. Thank you so much, Joel.